Hello folks, Everchanger here, and welcome back to more Ōkami. Last time, we defeated the Dark Lord Yami and were able to bring peace to Nippon. And afterwards, we left for the Celestial Plane. Man oh man, has it been a long journey. And of course it's going to start playing the demo video because I sat there just a second too long because I want to be showing off all of the things today that you get from completing the game. There's quite a bit of stuff here. It's probably going to be about 3/4 of this bonus video we're doing, but I'm also going to be talking about some stuff not necessarily related to the game itself, but come on game, work with me here. Not necessarily related to the game itself, but some stuff that maybe is like merchandise and things like that I want to talk about. Anyway, before the game interrupts me for like the third time going into the demo reel, I want to show off presents from Isun. This is a menu item that will show up as soon as you have beaten the game one time on the main menu, so as long as you have a completed save file, this will always show up. Now, the developers did not need to put this in the game at all, but I'm really glad they did. It's just a whole ton of bonus content. First things first is this art category. It has a whole ton of concept art and other artwork from the game. It has hundreds and hundreds of entries, and I can't even hope to show off all of this artwork in all of these categories, but luckily I don't have to because the good people over at the website Spriter's Resource have actually ripped all of this artwork from the game and uploaded it online for people to check out, which is really awesome. So I'm going to be putting a link to that page in the description just so you guys can check out all of this artwork because there is a lot of it. The second thing in this menu is Ōkami music. This is the entire game soundtrack. And there's one thing that I really want to point out. First things first, over here in the little other category, there's a whole bunch of demo things and sound effects that you can listen to as well. So not necessarily just music, but also right over here, under Arc of Yamato, if you scroll all the way down here, Reset by Ayaka Hirahara is listed. I did not know this was in the game until very recently. This is the ending credits song that plays only in the PlayStation 2 version of Ōkami. The credits were completely cut from the Wii version, and the PS3 version uses a different song entirely. Now, I'm not going to be playing it here for you today, because there are some legal issues with playing this song on YouTube, but I highly recommend all of you look up this song because it is an absolute incredible masterpiece, gotta say. Really caps off the game very well. The third category right here is the video treasure chest. This is pretty much every trailer and demo reel of the game prior to launch. I'm not going to be playing all of these because a lot of these you can find online. I am, however, going to be playing Internal Company Presentation A, because this is the earliest known footage of Ōkami, like pre-alpha 2004 time frame. It's kind of crazy, so I'm going to play this because it will actually have a little bit of relevance later on in the video. As you can see, Ōkami initially had a very different art style from what the final game actually looked like, and I think it's really interesting to be able to see such a fascinating glimpse into the development of the game. Anyway, there's one more thing I want to mention right here. All of this is unlocked just from completing the game. There is a fourth category I've seen mentioned online called the Secret Theater, which apparently unlocks when completing the game with a 31+ hour playtime. As you can see, I've played through this entire game twice with a playtime higher than that, and I've never gotten this secret theater thing to unlock. As far as I can tell, it's only in the US and maybe Japanese PlayStation 2 versions of the game. And I'll be honest, I'm not even sure what the secret theater is. So I'm just pointing out the fact that it might exist, and if anyone wants to enlighten us as to what exactly it is, please feel free to sound off in the comments. Anyway, with that, I would like to show off what will happen immediately after beating the game. So from here on out, we are going to be picking up directly from where we left off at the end of episode 51. First things first, you will be granted with your battle results from facing off against Yami. You might be wondering, what on earth do we use all this money for? I promise it will be explained. Total results screen is up next. It will rank you on playtime, days passed, and saves. And then after that, it will rank you on several various categories. These cherry trees mean you have earned S rank in that particular category. I will be explaining what that means later, and if you do reach S rank, you will be given a prize, which you can also see on the right. After that, you will be granted with this very out-of-place Microsoft Paint-esque congratulations screen. Really don't know what's up with this thing, very out of place. And then it will transition into granting you all of your post-game gifts. The first two Karmic Transformer items right here and the Karmic Returner are all granted purely from beating the game, as is the last 100th Stray Bead. As we have collected them all, we will be granted the String of Beads item. The remaining 7, I believe, Karmic Transformers are all granted from S ranking certain categories on the previous screen, and again, I will be explaining that going forward right here. Now, I do just want to mention, my voice probably sounds a little bit different during this segment, and that's because the Elgato software, with the amount of RAM I have in my computer, really doesn't like it when I try and post-commentate by playing a second video while I'm also recording my Wii U. So I actually had to use a different program to record this particular segment, so I do apologize for that disjointedness right here. Anyway, as you can see on screen, these are all of the items you can possibly receive for completing the game. And after that, the game will prompt you to save the game. This is going to save a Start from Beginning New Game Plus file. So what you can do is you can start the game all over again, except with all of those prizes and more already loaded into your inventory when you start the game up. So as you can see, right here I'm going to hop into my save menu, which I don't think I've actually shown during the LP, but I figure since it's the end we can spoil stuff. I'm going to save the Start from Beginning file, and I would like to meet you in that file right now. Alrighty, here we are in the New Game Plus file. Now, I took the liberty of skipping all of the cutscenes that came up before this, just so we could get into this little space where I can show off some of the stuff about New Game Plus. First things first, you're probably wondering what carries over. I have a big list to go through about stuff that carries over, so please bear with me as I read through it all. Stray beads that you have obtained will carry over, as will every item in your regular inventory right here, except for mermaid coins. Those do not carry over. In addition, all of your weapons, except for the 5th tier weapons, will also carry over, and as you can see, if they had gold dust applied to them in the previous save file, they will remain dusted here. I should note, gold dust that you bought from merchants in the previous save file will not be available again in this current save file. Every other gold dust, like the one from Blockhead Grand and the ones from the wanted lists, those can be obtained again, but you cannot dust a weapon twice, so they're pretty much useless to you. All of your holy artifacts will carry over except for the Fog Pot, the Fire Tablet, the Water Tablet, and the Thieves Glove. In addition to this, if we go all the way over here, all of your bestiary entries will remain. In addition to that, all praise and praise upgrades will remain from your previous save file. Notice that sun fragments do not carry over, so you need to reobtain those during the game. In addition to that, all of your yen and demon fangs will carry over, so the money you earn from defeating Yami, that is where it is going to be applied, so you're probably very rich right at the start here. The Animal Tome, all of the entries in the Animal Tome will also carry over. However, if you fed an animal in your previous playthrough, you are allowed to feed it a second time in the New Game Plus playthrough. All of your dojo skills will carry over, except for Fleetfoot, Counter Dodge, Holy Eagle, Holy Falcon, Digging Champ, and Hardhead. The Treasure Tome and all currently owned treasure will carry over. However, any treasures that you obtained in the previous playthrough can be obtained again, and the Fish Tome and all currently owned fish will also carry over. Everything else that I did not mention doesn't carry over. I know some places online indicate that key items carry over, but I can prove it right here. They do not. So whichever website you go to that says key items carry over, they don't. Period. Anyway, the next thing I want to go over here are the Karmic Transformers. When you use these items, it will apply a skin to Amaterasu and will change her appearance. This first one is Canine Warrior Tay. All you have to do to get this is complete the game, which is definitely very nice, and the bark of the dog will actually change, so I'm going to be quiet really quick. Very nice. Alright, so the second one is Canine Warrior Chi. This is also granted simply by completing the game, which is definitely very nice, and again, your bark will change. How very Nintendogs. Now, I do apologize if I'm getting some of these names potentially wrong. I am using an online reference guide to decide to tell you guys which ones these are, so if that online guide is wrong, I do apologize, but it's kind of hard to tell at first glance which character each one of these is. This one right here, Karmic Transformer 3, is Inkless Amaterasu. You need to achieve an S rank in the Deaths category in order to get this, which means you have to have 4 deaths or less. And as you can probably tell, dying and being revived by the Astral Pouch does not count as a death, which is very, very nice. Going back into the menu right here, Karmic Transformer 4 gives us Canine Warrior Sheen, if I'm not mistaken. You need to get an S rank in Yen in order to obtain this, which means over the course of your playthrough, you have to get at least 4 million yen, although there's so much buyable stuff in the game that if you go for 100%, you're probably going to hit that number. Anyway, the bark with this one also changes. Very nice. Alright, heading back into our menu right here, going to go over to Transformer number 5. This is Canine Warrior Ko. You need to get an S rank for enemies killed to get this, which means you have to kill at least 550 enemies over the course of your adventure. Again, with the Canine Warriors, the bark will change. Very good. Going back into the menu right here for Transformer number 6, this one will give you Canine Warrior Jean. To get this one, you need to get an S rank for Demon Fangs obtained, which means you have to have at least 300 Demon Fangs. If you buy all of the holy artifacts, you will easily qualify for this, so you don't have to worry about that. Again, the bark changes. Very good. Back into the menu right here, here's where things start to get interesting. Transformer number 7 will actually give you the appearance of Shiranui. Unfortunately though, your brush doesn't get the special red effect from the final battle as far as I know, although we can't actually test that at the moment because I don't have any of the brush techniques, because you have to obtain all of those again in New Game Plus, just to prevent any crazy sequence breaking. Breaking? Anyway, to obtain this one, you need to get an S rank for Praise, which means you have to obtain at least 4,500 Praise over the course of your adventure, although I'm pretty sure to fully upgrade everything, you need somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,000, so if you upgrade all of your stuff with Praise, you should be good. Heading back into the menu here for Transformer number 8, this is the statue of Shiranui that appears right at the beginning of the game. So you remember Sakuya revived a stone statue, and that's where you came from? Yeah, that's this one right here. Again, you need an S rank for Praise, so at least 4,500 Praise over the course of your adventure to obtain this. And the last Transformer is probably the most interesting one. This is pre-alpha realistic style Amaterasu from that trailer I showed just earlier in the episode. They really didn't have to include this, and obviously it's a very out of place appearing skin. I just think it's a really cool detail that I feel like not a whole lot of games would actually include. And once again, you need to get an S rank for praise, which means 4,500 praise or more over the course of your adventure. And last up, going right on in here, there is also the Karmic Returner, which will be given to you upon completion of the game automatically. This just returns you to standard Amaterasu appearance, which is definitely very nice. Now the next thing you're probably curious about is the String of Beads. That is a holy artifact that you can obtain from completing the entire stray bead category, so obtaining all 100 stray beads. Inkpot and solar energy become limitless, attack power times 10. This is basically there so you can plow through New Game Plus as quickly as you can. Infinite ink, infinite health, 10 times attack power. You can equip it in one of your 3 slots right here. And yeah, it does exactly what it says it does. It doesn't actually aesthetically change Amaterasu, but it will cause your health and ink bars to just not display on the screen, because they're infinite. You don't really need to know that kind of information. Anyway, other than that, playing through New Game Plus is pretty much the exact same experience as playing through the game the first time. So I think this is all of New Game Plus I'm going to be showing. I just wanted to show off all of the many, many rewards you get from this mode. Anyway, with that, I would like to discuss one last thing regarding the game itself right here, and those are the remaining combat moves that I never ever showed. The first 2 you can learn through the dojo. They are Fleetfoot and Counter Dodge, and what they will do is they will allow you to swing the nunchuck in order to gracefully, quote-unquote, dodge out of harm's way. Now on the PS2 and PS3 versions, this works completely fine because you just use a button, but swinging the nunchuck in the Wii version, like no matter which way I swing the nunchuck, I can never get it to work quite the way I want to, which is why I never bought it over the course of the series, because I figured it would just be a frustration. Fleetfoot gives you the dodging ability, and Counter Dodge basically adds on the same kind of thing that Holy Falcon does. Basically, it makes your dodge capable of dealing damage. The one other combat move I want to talk about was actually available to us the entire time. I just never actually successfully used it during the LP, and that is the Sub-Reflector counterattack. If you cast up your Sub-Reflector right as you are getting attacked by an enemy, you will execute an incredibly devastating counter-attack move that will usually do incredible damage or just one-shot enemies altogether. Really, really cool move. Really disappointed that I wasn't able to show it throughout the series, but it's on screen now for those of you who are interested. Anyway, with that, that is everything regarding the game itself that I would like to talk about. So, for now, for the rest of this video, I'm going to be talking about stuff not directly related to the Wii version, at least. I'm going to be talking about some merchandising things and other things involving the other versions of the game. So we're going to hop into that right about now. Alrighty, so the first thing I would like to talk about is the trophy system. Now, as many of you probably know, Ōkami was released on 3 different systems, those being the Wii, the PS2, and the PS3. And the PS3 version has support for the trophy system. There are 51 trophies that you can earn while playing Ōkami HD on the PS3. 33 of these are required trophies, which basically is my way of saying, if you just play the game all the way through, you are going to get these from various story events. Therefore, I'm not going to be going over any of those. However, there are also 18 optional trophies, which you can potentially go through the entire game without getting, and I would like to explain all of those now. So starting on the first row of optional trophies down there near the bottom of the screen, on the left we have first, no furball on the menu. That is obtained by escaping the water dragon immediately after completing the Sunken Ship mini-dungeon. You have exactly 1 try per playthrough to do this. You have to successfully get back to shore without getting gobbled up by the dragon. I've never done it, I've never seen anybody do it, but apparently it's possible, so be sure to save beforehand and then go for it. Second up, we have Grab Life by the Leash. To get this one, you have to fully upgrade every single stat all the way with praise. Third, we have No More Fish in the Sea. This requires you to complete your fish tome. Every single fish in the entire game is available between the 3 endgame fishing spots, and some of them only appear at certain times of day in these areas, so keep that in mind. There are lots of guides online for you to complete this. Fourth, we have Guides Will Travel. This requires you to complete the travel guide. Several of these are not actually required, in fact most of them aren't required. A lot of them are obtained just from obtaining secret brush skills, and then a chest will appear containing that specific travel guide. I believe there are 30 in total. None of them are permanently missable though. Next up, 5th, we have Give a Dog All the Bones. This requires you to complete the treasure tome. No treasure in the entire game is missable, so every single treasure you can find buried somewhere in the world in an area that you can always go back to. 6th, we have Sniff 'em Out. This requires you to complete all 4 of the wanted lists over the course of the game, which I have done in the LP. 7th, we have Leave No Chest Unopened. This requires you to collect every single stray bead in the game. Now, people in the PS3 community are very insistent that this is a permanently missable trophy. That's because apparently stray bead number 1, which is obtainable in the Cave of Nagi, becomes unobtainable because the cave locks out at some point during the game. I cannot replicate this on the Wii version. It's possible it's exclusive to the PS3 version. I'm just pointing it out just in case it's true, because I have seen no evidence to indicate that it is, except for comments from the PS3 community. 8th, we have All Creatures Great and Small. This requires you to complete the Animal Tome. However, you only need to feed 1 animal of every category, and for that reason this is not actually a permanently missable trophy. 9th, we have Teach an Old Dog New Tricks, which basically means you need to learn every single dojo technique, which is expensive, but it's definitely doable and it's not missable. Moving on to the second row, first off we have From Imps to Demons. This requires you to complete the Bestiary. This is a permanently missable trophy because of 1 enemy in the entire game, and that is the Fire Doom Mirror. This enemy only appears in enemy scrolls in the Emperor's bedroom when you are shrunken down, and once you complete that area you can never ever go back to it, and this enemy does not appear anywhere else in the game. So if you want this trophy, make sure to grab the Fire Doom Mirror enemy entry in the Emperor's bedroom, otherwise you are going to permanently miss out. Second up, we have Barking Up the Cherry Tree. This requires you to get the Cherry Tree S rank on every single category in the endgame results screen that I showed earlier in the series, and I've already explained what qualifies as an S rank in every category. Third up, we have Lupine and Divine. This requires you to get Cherry Tree rank on both time and damage in the after battle results screen. You have to be really, really bad at the game to miss this, because you are able to earn it after any battle in the entire game. You just need to get a perfect rank on anything. Fourth up, we have Out of the Gate Swinging. This is probably the hardest one out of all of these. It requires you to complete all 3 Devil Gate trials, which I did in episodes 46, 47, and 48, so if you want to check that out, that's where that is. Fifth up, we have Who Let the Dogs Out, which requires you to defeat the Kusa 5 in the Gale Shrine after clearing Oni Island, something I also did during the LP. Sixth, we have Diggin' It, which basically means complete all 5 digging minigames, which I also did. Seventh, we have Eat My Flower Trail, which requires you to complete the racing minigames against Ida in Shinshu Field and Hayate in Ryoshima Coast. Eighth, we have Doggone Fast, which requires you to complete the racing minigame in Yoshpet against Kai. And last up, we have Top Dog, which basically means acquire every trophy, and this one is missable purely for the fact that there are other trophies in the game that are missable. But anyway, with that, that is everything I wanted to explain regarding trophies, so next up we are going to be moving on to some merchandise surrounding the game, because there's some pretty interesting stuff regarding that I would really like to talk about. Okay, so next up we are going to be talking about merchandise surrounding the Ōkami series. The first thing I would like to go over is the music of the game, because I have to say, Ōkami probably has my absolute favorite game soundtrack that I have ever heard. And thankfully, the entire thing is available on CD, but only in Japan, so you do have to import this. In fact, it's the most expensive piece of Ōkami merchandise that I own is the Ōkami original soundtrack. It is a 5-disc set that has 218 songs, and it even has the background music for all of the trailers of the game, in addition to every single song and sound effect, which is really, really impressive, and it's probably one of my favorite pieces of gaming-related merchandise that I actually own. Now, to the right there on the screen, you probably noticed there is also a retro version soundtrack listed. You're probably really interested about that, especially since I used it as time-lapse music a couple of times throughout the series. There are 17 songs to this soundtrack, and it is actually free for anybody to download. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Now, how do you get it? Well, that's where things get a little bit interesting. On the main Ōkami website, there is a Retro Festival Flash game that you can play, and I'm going to be linking this in the description. Anyone can play this, but it is entirely in Japanese, so I have a little bit of tutorial how to get into the game itself on the screen. From the main website page, you want to click the button that I have underlined in that left graphic right there. It has a pixelated Amaterasu on it, and the katakana next to it says Retro Series. Once you click on that, it will bring up the middle screen right there, and there will be a start button, which I have also underlined. You click that, and you will be entered into the game. It is basically an 8-bit Dragon Quest-esque rendition of Kamiki Village, with quite a few pixelated Ōkami characters dotted around the game world. You can simply mouse around to navigate throughout Kamiki Village, and when you click on the characters, they will usually have something to say, and if you can read Japanese, definitely try and read it, because I'm pretty sure they have some interesting stuff to say, and after they are done speaking, they will offer some downloads to you. Some of the characters will offer downloads to some songs in the retro version soundtrack, and they will also offer a download of their icon, so if you talk to, say, Waka, he will download you a pixelized version of Waka as he appears in the game, and some of them will also give you some downloads for artwork surrounding the game, which is really, really cool. So again, there's 17 songs total, and I highly recommend you just browse through this game and try and find all the downloads you can, because it's just a really, really cool thing, and it's free to everybody, so I just recommend you go check it out. Anyway, next up is the Ōkami art book. This is a very, very big art book. It's really quite large, and it has every single piece of beta art in the game. It even has an overworld map of that Retro Festival Flash game. It has some notes from the writers. It has every single scroll and bestiary entry in the game in very high quality, and it also has some notes from the developers aside each piece of artwork that you can look at. It's a $40 art book, and I definitely recommend you pick it up. Very, very high quality item. And if you also have the soundtrack, the art book will actually list disc and track numbers next to every piece of art, so you can listen to like fitting pieces of music from the game. It's just really, really cool. Even 10 years after the game is out, I'm still flabbergasted by how much effort went into the music and the art book of this game. It's really, really incredible. Anyway, last up, I am going to throw out a quick mention to the sequel to Ōkami, that being Ōkamiden. Now, some people consider this a sequel, others consider it merely a side story. I personally don't really subscribe to either one of those theories dedicatedly. I usually just go back and forth on it. But Ōkamiden, even though they changed a lot of stuff between Ōkami and Ōkamiden, and a lot of people might take issue with some of these changes, I still feel like it's a very, very solid addition to the lore of Ōkami, and I definitely recommend you go and check it out if you feel like you really just haven't gotten all of the experience you can out of Ōkami itself. There was also a soundtrack released alongside Ōkamiden. It has 4 discs and 67 songs in it. I definitely recommend getting a hold of this soundtrack in particular, because you can't really listen to the music through the game very well, because as it is a Nintendo DS game, a lot of the music had to be downsampled pretty heavily in order to be played through the Nintendo DS. So the soundtrack versions of all the music, very, very high quality, a lot higher quality than you are going to get in the game itself. Anyway, with that, that is every little bit of merchandise that I really felt like I wanted to mention in this series. Of course, other pieces of merchandise do exist, and they definitely vary in price. They're usually figurines, plushies, things like that, and a lot of those can be really, really expensive. But the ones I mentioned here are actually pretty accessible, and I feel like you should probably go out of your way to obtain a lot of this stuff if you're a big fan of Ōkami like I am. But anyway, I would like to give a couple of shout-outs to two specific people right here at the end of this series. The first person I would like to shout out is, of course, Chugga Conroy, because he is actually the person who introduced me to this game almost 5 years ago now, and I am just so grateful that I was able to be exposed to this game, and it's honestly become one of my favorites over the course of the past few years. The other person I would like to shout out is Real the Lion, who is my good personal friend. Had a lot of help from him with translating the episode titles over the course of this series, and he also gave a lot of general critiquing and advice throughout the series, so I really want to thank him for all of his help, because I feel like it really truly made this series unique and better overall. Now, that brings me to the very end. Of course, at the very end of Ōkami, unless you're playing the Wii version, you are going to be greeted with the credits sequence. The credits sequence has a different song depending on which version you play. The PS2 version has the song Reset by Ayaka Hirahara at the end of it, and unfortunately, that credits sequence, due to some various legal issues and things like that, cannot actually be shown on YouTube. If it could, I would definitely go out of my way to show it, but unfortunately there is just too many legal barriers for me to do so. But I still really want to give the developers all of the credit that is due for this game, because although I have thanked so many people over the course of this series, I feel like thanking the developers is the best thing to cap things off with, just because without them, Ōkami would not exist. The PS3 version of the credits has a soundtrack called 2005 Tokyo Game Show Promo, which was used in one of the pre-release trailers. And I am going to be playing that for you right here, right now, at the end. I just have to say, once again, one final time, thank you. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart for watching, and please enjoy the end of Ōkami.
Hey,